Hello, and welcome to DecisionPoint Systems On-Demand webinar. This session will cover the 4 mobility issues you can proactively solve for the retail edition. Since this is a recorded session, should you have any questions about the content, or if you'd like to contact one of our expert presenters, please reach out to our team's inbox at info@decisionpt.com. I'm thrilled to have Don Sarin, Director of IT Managed Services at DecisionPoint Systems, leading today's session. Alongside Don will be Matt Reeder and Julie McClenahan from SOTI, a leading global enterprise mobile management software solution. These subject matter experts will add to the conversation to share their insights and best practices. And now, over to you, Don.
Thank you. We'll be covering 4 issues today. The first issue is going to be what you do if your IT admin leaves. Device is not consistent across all locations, and devices not provisioned for multiple uses. And then finally, PCI compliance and malware threats. So if your IT admin leaves, now what? So according to a turnover report from LinkedIn, the tech industry has the highest turnover rate at 13.2%. In fact, even global tech giants struggle with the employee tenure. Most have a median employee tenure of only 1 to 2 years. So how do you prepare for a seamless succession? What do you do if your IT admin leaves and quote unquote takes the keys with them? So your IT operations are always skinny. Can you have 2 or more people cross-trained? Do your people have time to do proper documentation on all of your processes and setups? I like to bring up one of my previous customers lost their IT admin, and he literally left with all of the passwords and login information, leaving a very large fleet of 11,000 devices without anybody to have access to manage them. So when you manage the MDM yourselves, you always have to stay on top of employee retention. You may not have available staff well versed in this particular technology or in mobile device management in general. This is all why mobile workers are still calling in to the IT department or help desk for things like remote support and troubleshooting, pushing any mobile app updates and security patches. And of course, that's the most important part of any infrastructure today, is to have your security updates up to date and compliant. The MDM skill set and working knowledge of how and why the profiles are constructed are not always, are not called on often, and can be overlooked if not properly documented. So you need to know who creates and updates and tests your profiles, who verifies the application updates work properly after the push, and who operates the Tier 2 help desk support to do remote access into devices. And do you have anyone else in your organization with experience, or is it a single individual? These are things to consider. So here's how we support you in that environment. Our MDM solution, we have over 90 years of combined experience amongst our SEs, and they have an extensive experience working with retail environments. We've done dozens of MDM environment builds and tune-ups in the retail industry. We've got over 160,000 devices under management right now, and they're all different types of devices too, not just handsets. We do everything from set up the Wi-Fi properly, get the POS and printers as well involved in our MDM setups. We also can do things like operate as a white label. So if you are someone who packages your product with a device, we can set that up and remote manage it as part of our offer and make it seamless to your customers, allowing you a new avenue for revenue. Another important issue, devices not being consistent across all stores. So when the right technology is in place, it positively impacts several aspects of our retail store environment, everything from employee job satisfaction, and also to have the stores have the resources to be more efficient and automate their tasks and things of that sort. But the challenge arises when store associates have to adapt to new digital tools on the fly without training. And of course, no IT has the resources to fly people out to every retail location to train up staff. So here's how an MDM helps. There's nothing worse than having technology necessary for your job not functioning. So what do? Some folks take the expensive task of overbuying devices, so there's extra devices on hand at all times. But more efficient is to fix the device in real time. So you can use the remote control feature of your MDM platform through the help desk techs, and they can reach out directly to the device and make changes and change device settings. It saves a lot of time, and it limits the frustration the end users can have if they have to perform these functions in real time with the help desk. Nothing's worse than having to use your associates' remote hands with a help desk functionality. It's very frustrating. With the MDM, the help desk can remote in, make those changes, and make any changes necessary without the end user needing to really be involved at all. A fun example is we have a company that has MDM support through DecisionPoint. One of the devices was stolen. They called into our help desk. We were able to remote into that device, turn on the camera, and see where that device was, and then direct them directly to where that device was. They recovered device from there. So how does this benefit your business? Tech also ranks high on the list of factors that could help reduce work-related stress. One survey we saw said 46% of the respondents value tech support higher than mental health support or even wellness benefits. So while the right tools are incredibly important, they have to be in working order to help not hinder an employee's ability to do their job. And Julie, you had some comments about this?
Yeah, thanks, Don. Yeah, I think you've made some really great points here. I think a lot of times when you're in a retail environment, you're going to have those sales associates that are on the floor helping customers, working with them. So ensuring that they've got a device in their hand, for instance, for checking a price on something, or that the POS machine is working. If those components are all running smoothly, yes, it makes their day go a lot better, as well as kind of contribute to the ever-growing importance of customer experience. So I think, especially in retail, this is really key for success.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. So another factor of DecisionPoint's MDM support is MDM consulting. So the MDM platform and proficient development of Android and iOS mobile devices. So a great deal of your devices are going to fall into those two categories. Windows Mobile is also covered as well. And just to give you an example, we worked with a rental car fleet, and they had an issue working their apps between iOS and Android, and we actually helped them using the MDM consulting support to figure out that really the iOS wasn't going to be a good fit for their applications. So they switched to Android and actually saved quite a bit of money on the devices themselves, and it was a lot more productive for them, not having to do a large-scale proof of concept to make that work. So our team can assess, document, and recommend recommendations on overall configuration of the MDM environment, including things like the device group structure, configuration profiles, security lockdown profiles, and app package distribution. We actually can do that as part of a tune-up. If you're running your own MDM on a day-to-day basis, sort of a tier one, and you're not happy with the way it works, or you don't have the time or expertise to do some of this real in-depth work, we can do that as an outsource as well. So we work with our customers to implement changes to the MDM environment and streamline device deployment, delivery configurations, and payloads. So one of the nice features of the MDM is you can do what's called a barcode enablement, where you simply just, when you get a new device, you scan a barcode and it pushes the setup for you. It's pretty complicated, so it's good to have someone experienced to help build that for you. We also could do things like review the Wi-Fi profiles being deployed, confirm there's no overlapping profile or settings. So one retailer we work with has a specific Wi-Fi address set up for each store as part of their internal security. So they'll have 2 or 3 different Wi-Fi profiles per store. And that's a very complicated setup, and we help them develop those profiles and settings for each one on a global basis. The other thing we do is operate as tier 2 to your help desk. I referenced the one of our partners we worked with to find the stolen device. But what we do is you operate a tier 1 help desk to work on your own applications, work with the basic device on-off settings, things of that sort. And then you can throw it to us on the MDM side, and we can do things like do the remote access, push corporate policies, and assess device, any device settings that are out of configuration using the remote access tool. Another thing you can do is have one device and use that for many different use cases. So why would you want a single device to perform many job functions? It's nice to have a clean inventory of devices. So you've got one device, you can configure it to individuals or have them just open inventory to the rest of the group. You get a better price by buying a single device in greater quantities. And there's no need for people inside the retail environment to find their right device. They can grab any device off the shelf and go to work. So it also can save on accessories. So if you're doing things like, if you have multiple batteries, or if you have maybe a case or a handle, you can buy just a single set of those and use them on the one device. And also too, if you're operating a spares pool, your spares pool applications can be smaller because you've got only one device type rather than have to have a spares pool for each of a specific device type. So you can have a frontline salesperson have the same device as a manager, but as each logs into the device, they have a different look and feel and a different set of accesses. We've got one retail support group who they have cross-dock workers and delivery drivers in the same environment, and they're merely picking up whatever device is handy. They log into that device, and it gives them the image based on their profile. So how do we do this? Active Directory is the usual source for many organizations to do their source of authentication and categorization of their end users. The Google Google admin tools are also supported as well. And profile configurations can change device settings such as the authentication requirements, what Wi-Fi connections they're on, and even their email accounts. So Matt, you had some explanations of how the integrations work.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, so having different users access the same device, but with different apps, different settings, different configurations is actually more common than you think in a lot of different retail environments. And Active Directory is just a really clean way to then not have to duplicate all the usernames, passwords, levels of access and permissions. So whether that device is being used in different roles, between a dock worker or a driver or supervisor or whoever, or even across different team members within it, once you log into that mobile device, that phone, that tablet, that mobile scanner, you get your own profile, your own configurations, but the IT department doesn't have to manage a different set of permissions or level of access. So it's just a really clean way. And I think you also mentioned it earlier with staff turnover, that you don't actually then have to go and manage, oh, that employee left the business, now I need to deactivate them in SOTI, in the MDM tool. Once you turn them off in Active Directory, they wouldn't have access to the mobile devices either. So it actually solves a couple different problems on shared devices, in a retail environment where one device isn't bound to the user, but it's actually floating between different workers, or that day, that Monday or that Tuesday or that Wednesday, but also hiring new employees or employees leaving the business. You don't actually have to manage a separate repository now of identity management. It's all tied in with Active Directory with SOTI, all the way down to the mobile devices. So it doesn't really matter if you're on-premise or cloud, same functionality exists and just enables that types of flexibility. So you don't always have to do one-to-one device to employee. You can have those shared devices without all of the extra complexity of trying to manage usernames, passwords, and another identity management. It can all just tie cleanly into Active Directory. So nice and slick solution for a lot of retail customers that are using their mobile devices this way.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and there's 3 tools that you'll use to do these kinds of things. There's the advanced configurations. This is a more comprehensive settings that can modify a device's behavior or how it interacts with SOTI mobility control, such as the settings in its update schedule or limiting its access to certain networks. There's also the settings manager. This is an app built by SOTI mobility control that limits device user access to certain device settings. And those are all chosen by the administrator. So it limits what an end user can do. And then there's the settings manager app, and that also enables the SOTI mobility control administrator to provide controlled access to a subset of device settings while a device is in lockdown mode. So you can lock a device down completely so folks can't access things they're not supposed to, and you can push all those settings out with the SOTI mobility control platform. Another thing that we do for the retail environment that helps with multiple use cases in a single device is staging and kitting. So the device is set to a retail location. They need to work out of the box. Working with an MDM environment, we stage a device so that it functions to the specifications that you set, and it's ready for use by the end users. We can also do things like kitting a device with accessories such as a Bluetooth barcode scanner or a payment reader, and ensures that the end user doesn't have to struggle with setting these devices up when they arrive at the location. So our service for staging and kitting limits downtime. It certainly prevents help desk calls, and it provides the end user with an excellent experience when the new equipment arrives. So how does it work for you? So I like to use our white label, one of our white label retail customers. So they provide equipment to end users, and we operate in the background and invisible to their customers. And we have everything ready to go as far as it's staged and kitted with its proper equipment. It is configured through an MDM, through the MDM push to have all the proper applications and device settings on it. And we ship it out to their end users, and then we operate the help desk for them at the tier 2 level using the MDM as well. So it provides an excellent customer experience for their customers, and it saves them having to build out this infrastructure to support their customers. So our fourth and final issue is staying compliant with PCI and also addressing malware threats. So let's give you an idea of some of the challenges that are out there today. So there's a leading technology distributor who was just locked out of being able to do any transactions for over a week due to a ransomware attack. So you can imagine someone who has an online store as their principal way of doing business suddenly locked out because of a malware transaction. So they actually could not do business for over a week. We also know of a auto parts retailer who was locked out due to ransomware, and as part of their after incident report, they found that the attack originated through a mobile device downloading malware, and that gave access to the core infrastructure. So there's a lot of endpoints in your environment, and they all need to be controlled to prevent this malware that continues to proliferate through the environments. So a lot of folks also think that cloud storage prevents ransomware attacks, and it is simply not the case. So to fully understand how ransomware can infect the cloud storage, let's take a look at some common approaches to cloud storage. Your cloud storage is vulnerable to ransomware to a large extent because it's syncing with local data storage devices. So when ransomware strikes, it's going to rip through your files locally and encrypt them, and then through the file sharing engine, it's going to sync this change with the cloud storage copy as well, infecting great deal of the enterprise. So the same concept is true for enterprise scenarios that have cloud storage gateways or other storage tiering solutions. So local copies likely become infected by the ransomware and sync up to the cloud. And alternatively, even if you use a pointer, so with the two-way file sharing, it's liable to recall its own copy of the item from the cloud and encrypt it and sync it back to the cloud again, causing the malware to proliferate throughout your infrastructure just from a single point of contact. So what can we do to help prevent this? So there's several tools built into Mobi Control. First is the antivirus whitelist, and this can be used to add applications and files that you want to be whitelisted using the antivirus program. It doesn't allow unpermitted applications to be added or files to be added to a device. And then there's application monitoring, which is used to scan the applications that are installed or executed for viruses. Applications are also scanned when they're launched. So you can send the potentially infected applications to the quarantine folder or have them deleted directly. Another tool is the file system monitoring. And this is used to scan newly downloaded or modified files for viruses. So as any files are added to a remote device, they're automatically scanned and scanned for viruses. You can also set schedules for running antivirus scans, updating virus definitions, or emptying the antivirus quarantine. And Matt, did you have any other comments about setting up a security environment?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that when you think of antivirus, the number one area is actually education, because a lot of companies think of, oh, I have an antivirus for my laptops and my desktops, and it doesn't come to the front of your mind when you think of cell phones or tablets or mobile devices in general, going, well, I need antivirus running on those as well, because your example that you used, Don, is kind of bang on, that a lot of people are gaining access to either network resources or into organizations or even through cloud through the mobile devices. So having an antivirus running on the mobile devices and the end units, through SOTI, through Mobi Control, is absolutely critical. And you can set your schedules on how frequently or how aggressively you want them to be scanned. And it doesn't really matter if it's Android or iOS or Windows or Linux or whatever operating system it is. The end mobile devices aren't even sitting in businesses like desktop computers. They are out in the world. So the access and the opportunity for either getting a virus or having someone access your network through a mobile device is getting higher by the day. More hackers are getting into organizations through these endpoints. So it is critical to have this turned on. Obviously leverage DecisionPoint's engineering resources to configure this, set this up, but it's included in SOTI and Mobi Control. And education is the most important part. Please use your antivirus, turn it on in SOTI so that it's running, scanning both the files, applications on some type of regular reoccurring a schedule. So I would say the most important point, Don, is education, is letting people know that antivirus isn't just for your desktops and laptops anymore. It's come all the way down to your mobile devices, scanners, smartphones, tablets, all of the above. So I'll leave it with education. That's where I'm going to leave my note.
Thanks, Matt. So we've covered four common problems that we see in the retail environment. And just to let you know, that DecisionPoint is here to help, as well as SOTI. And we look to DecisionPoint to help you with your configuration settings, your device setup, and your tier 2 support going forward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at dsaren@decisionpoint.com. And I provided my number here as well. Thank you for your time.